Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Routing Box Friday Live. My name is Jonathan Anthon here from our headquarters in beautiful Buffalo, New York. So glad to join you again this week. Thank you for those that checked in with us last week when we were talking about import files and some of the things to look for in an import file, how it can help your business. This week we're going to talk about another really cool topic, and something that's very, very important, driver communication. So we'll dive into that in just a minute once we get everybody some time to check in. Before we dive into that, I want to touch base on something that we wanted to, we were kind of want to make sure it went out last week before we talked about it, so I was kind of a little bit iffy on the video, but something very, very cool now. For those of you using Routing Box, the trip suggestion tool. So what this is when you have an empty assignment, you want to see which vehicles are best, you right click and Routing Box will actually calculate what's going on with all your vehicles, when we expect them to be free. Once they're free, how far away they're going to be from this new trip that I'm trying to assign, what's their ETA, how much travel time do they have. So it can help you pick out the most efficient vehicle for a trip, or the vehicle that can get to the trip the fastest. That is actually now going to take real traffic conditions into account. There's a setting you'll be able to turn on that takes that into account. So it actually did go out in last week's Routing Box Friday. So if you want to turn that feature on, either give us a call, 716-202-9121, or check out last week's Routing Box Friday for more information. But we'll be happy to help. If you're a new customer, you want to learn about what the trip suggestion tool is, that sounds kind of cool. I know there's some tools out there that are like closest available vehicle. Well, if you don't have a huge fleet and you have a huge service area, the closest available vehicle might not be the best vehicle. You may have another vehicle in the area that's going to free up soon. That's what the trip suggestion tool helps you identify. So if you'd like to learn more about that, again, 716-202-9121, and we'll tell you all about that and how it can help your business. So now that we've given everybody a little bit of time, hopefully we have some folks joining us live, let's talk a little bit about driver communication. So something that I want to bring to your attention that I can't spend too much time on, but is very critical for this, is HIPAA. So protecting your client's information. We're providing medical transportation in a lot of cases, right? So that is important. Now, what I am not is a lawyer, so I cannot interpret HIPAA for you. That would be very irresponsible of me. But what I can tell you is that it would make sense. I'm sure most of you have maybe a lawyer or a compliance officer that you can reach out to. Whatever it is, however you decide to communicate to your drivers, always a good idea to make sure that you are up to standards based on your contract with the different brokers or health providers that you're working with as to what the expectations are for protecting personal information. So like HIPAA's definition is the minimum necessary. Obviously that's very open to interpretation as to what that actually means. In a lot of cases you may have it defined in a contract, etc. So work with the folks that do work with these things professionally, the lawyers and advisors that you have on your team, to make sure that what you're doing is in compliance. So we've heard of a lot of different ways to communicate trips to drivers. We have, obviously you have the driver manifest where you pre-schedule out all your trips, you print out a piece of paper, give it to the driver, they fill in data, collect signatures on that manifest, etc. And then obviously chasing after those can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge. And you have changes throughout the day, so those present a little bit of a challenge. Another one we hear about is text messages, where I'm texting the client's information to the driver and sending them off the trip information. That way, we actually met with someone recently who was doing it via Facebook messaging. WhatsApp is another one. Again, with those, obviously there's some challenges there if the driver doesn't see it, but certainly would recommend talking to your legal counsel to make sure that you're in compliance with what you're doing. But let's talk a little bit about some of the new ways to communicate to drivers and some of the new technology that's out there. So obviously with Routing Box, we have our driver application. That driver application will communicate the trip information to the driver. The driver collects timestamps. I've arrived, I've departed the pickup location, I've arrived at the drop-off location, now my trip is completed. They can capture signatures, odometer readings, all those trip updates, capture the timestamps you might need for billing or for compliance. So all that information is captured right within Routing Box. So that's obviously one way to do it, and then driver apps are becoming more and more popular because it's knocking out that sheet of paper. We don't have to worry about anybody missing any information. It's very clear right there for the driver. We don't have to translate information from a sheet of paper over to a system or a billing system, etc. It makes things really a lot simpler. So that's becoming kind of the predominant way. But when that happens, what you lose is the one-to-one connection between the dispatcher and the driver. So a lot of companies come to us and say, well, all right, cool, the app is going to send the trip information. What about the stuff that just can't be included in a trip file? What about just general communication about what's going on through the day, or just general chit-chat? So something that we've seen an increase in that is become really, really popular is actually communication via two-way radio, and you can do that two different ways. One is the actual old-style two-way radios that work on they have the different channels, and it's the old-school two-way radios. Those are actually kind of cool because they take you away from the cellular network, so if something should happen to the cellular network, they're a nice backup. But the cellular networks have now become just so reliable, and the coverage is so fantastic. One that's coming on big time is actually push-to-talk applications. So on your driver's tablet or their smartphone, whatever smart device you have them using their driver application on, you can actually install an application. There's a few of them that we'd recommend that do certify themselves as HIPAA compliant. One, for example, if you want to check one out, is Team on the Run. Shout out to the Team on the Run team. We're actually very familiar with them. They do a great job. Zello at Work is another one. So those are a couple apps you can do a little bit of research on, but they do offer themselves up as being HIPAA compliant. Now again, what that means, that's something that your team should work on and interpret to make sure that's actually true. The other thing is the mobile providers, the carriers themselves. Most of them actually are now launching push-to-talk applications that you can buy directly from them. Again, you'll want to talk to them to make sure that everything is compliant for what you need it to do. But these things get installed right onto a mobile device. And just like on a radio, I kind of have the radio in my hand. I have a button on the side that I push and I can talk. Similar concept on a smartphone. Usually like the screen or a tablet, you can touch the screen. There's even devices now that actually look just like the old CB radios that you can either hardwire into the device or even connect wirelessly with Bluetooth. That you can it looks just like a radio. You can clip it, mount it in the vehicle, whatever you want to do, and you press the button just like you do on the old CB radios. So it really creates a really nice experience for the drivers who may be used to that type of technology. Makes it very, very easy. So, and we know when it comes to driver communication, the cool thing is the options are really endless. There's so many different ways to communicate. For you, what you need to do is work with some professional consultants, your legal team, to make sure what you're doing is compliant based on your contracts and HIPAA. Work with your software provider to make sure that whatever the mobile app is doing what you need, and then work with your mobile providers to see what kind of tools are out there so that you can communicate effectively with your drivers outside of what your driver app may allow you to do. Of course, Routing Box, we specialize in a lot of these things. We have some great contacts in the mobile industry with all 4 of the major providers. So if you'd like to talk to someone, we'd love to hook you up with that. Or if you have questions for us, whether you're an existing Routing Box customer or someone who's exploring software and checking Routing Box out and want to see if it's a good thing for you, give us a call, 716-202-9121. You can also comment on this post. We'll be sure to get back to you, or even send us a Facebook message. So again, give us a call, 716-202-9121. But we're going to let you go from here. So I hope everybody has a fantastic holiday weekend, and we will catch you next week.